Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Unapologetically Loving Myself. My name's Annemarie and today I would like to talk with you about self-love and self-care as part of your healing journey. In other words, it's about learning to be kind to me first. So, firstly, I want to say that when there's no self-love, it's very difficult to care for myself, and it's very difficult to be kind to myself. And if I've been in a toxic relationship or been in a pattern of toxic relationships throughout my life, I've learned to put my own needs behind everyone else's needs as a means to feel validated. Unfortunately, when we look to others to validate us, they will always dictate the terms. And if I don't feel good about myself, I will attract, whether I do it consciously or unconsciously, it doesn't matter, but I will attract people and situations into my life to confirm that belief. And I become a bit of a target for those who are looking for ways to surround themselves with people, with caring people, with authentic people, but authentic people who have learned to dull their own light. Because somewhere along the line we've been taught that to show up as our authentic self, to just be ourselves, is not okay. And so somehow we got punished for showing up as our authentic self. So we learn to do and have in a way that others will value us. And so we've learned to not be ourselves anymore. We've learned to equate our self-worth with what we have and what we do for others, not for ourselves, for others. Very important to understand the distinction there. So the more we learn to please others at the detriment of our own health and well-being, the less love and less care and less kind we are to ourselves. And so not only will we allow others to throw us under the bus, we will now also throw ourselves under the bus. And so not only will we allow others to gaslight us, we will now gaslight ourselves. We will constantly question, maybe I am expecting too much. Maybe I am being paranoid. Maybe I am being oversensitive. Maybe it is really my fault. Maybe it is me that's just wanting way too much out of this. Maybe I am just making a big deal out of things. Maybe I am hanging on to things. Okay? When you hear others telling you that, pay attention, because they too have learned how to get what they want. And so we get what we want by pleasing others, which isn't really what we want, but it's kind of makes us feel kind of loved, which is pretty messed up when you think about it. And others will take advantage of that. And that's their role. You know, they are meant to take advantage of that, unfortunately, because we've become an easy target. So how do we stop being an easy target? Firstly, I have to fill myself with that self-love and that self-care. And if I'm so used to giving to others first, that's going to be very tricky and quite confronting for me, because I'm so used to doing and having whatever others need, and I've stopped being who I truly am. So when I first try and be myself, well, I won't know who that is. So it's a kind of a bit of a new adventure that I have to allow myself to embark on to find out who I truly am again. And when I'm on this journey, others are not going to like it, because by us setting those boundaries, by me setting that boundary, it means that I'm throwing someone else out of their comfort zone that I've helped them build. Okay, and so if they're not ready to change, they're going to now see me as a threat. And the more I feel myself and start standing up for myself, not in an aggressive way. I'm not talking about aggression, I'm talking about assertion. Okay, but when others start seeing you taking that power back, you're setting your boundaries and you're starting to say no, they're going to challenge you. But don't see that as a negative. See that as, okay, I must be moving forward because they're challenging me more than they ever did before. It's because they now risk having to either them having to change or them having to be accountable for the things that they've done in the past, because you're now recognizing things for what they are and you're no longer accepting anything less than true respect, which means I have to be respectful of myself. I hope that makes sense. And the more respectful I am to myself, the more my authentic self starts coming out. And I will start attracting different souls, different people who are now more aligned with that, because I won't accept anything less. Because when I treat myself as less, then I'm going to accept less. That's not self-love or self-care. When I learn to respect myself, that means I'm going to expect more of myself, which means I won't allow lower vibrational energies to try and penetrate. And when I've been delving in that lower energy in the past, because I didn't know any better either, so we have to forgive ourselves and we have to forgive others, which is all part of that self-love and that self-care. But it means I have to stand firm on my boundaries. And the more I love and care for myself, the more gentle I can be about those boundaries, because I'm aware that it's going to be a tricky situation. And I'm going to be aware that others are not going to like it. So let me start by being gentle and kind to me. And let me just take tiny little baby steps to not offend anyone else in the process. Because the key is to love myself unconditionally without without invoking resistance in others. Not an easy path, but it's possible nonetheless. And so the more I fill myself up, the more I dial up my inner light, the more I reconnect and with myself and with the divine, the more I'm filled up on the inside, the more introversion I practice, the more externally my life will reflect that. And so self-love is recognizing that I am worthy, that I am a being of love, that I am a being of light, that I am energy. So let me not fixate on what I can do or what I can have for others. Let me show up with my true, full, contented self. Let me show up with my inner light shining bright. Others will you will lose people in the process, because like I said, not everyone is ready to make change, and either they're going to keep challenging you to stay in your lower vibration. But if they see that you really aren't playing that game anymore, then either, if you're fortunate, then they will start stepping up as well, or they will dissipate along the way. But it won't be as painful as that full-on tug-of-war of letting go of people when you're in your lower vibration. So the higher you lift your own frequency, that is giving to yourself, that is loving yourself, that is taking care of yourself. And when you are full and shining outward rather than looking externally to fill yourself up, we have to learn to love ourselves inside out. That's not only gives me my own internal validation, so I don't need to look at someone else to validate me, but it's also a form of that inner filling is an outer protection. And so if I still want to give to people, that's amazing. And we should never stop giving to people, but we've got to stop doing it at the detriment of our own health and well-being. It's not healthy for anyone. And all we do is we end up enabling those who don't want to be accountable. So we're actually contributing to that situation. And so we can't say, why are they doing this to me? Because I'm contributing, keeping that situation alive. And if I want that situation to finish, I need to start filling myself. Contentment means I am full from the inside. And if I want to keep giving, then I need to keep filling myself up and completely overflow. And others can take from that overflow. But they must never take from my cup. I hope that makes sense. So I must never allow it. I must recognize, I'm running on empty. Let me turn inward and fill myself first, rather than keep being busy, busy, busy out there. Distraction, distraction, distraction. And equate my worth with how busy I am externally. Because socially we are conditioned to believe that if we're busy externally, we are a valued member of society. Couldn't be further from the truth. The busier I am externally, the more I become part of the problem. And so I need to give to myself internally. I need to brighten my inner spark, and I need to keep that spark alive. That's how we live in the light. That's how we live in love. That's how we are able to keep giving without ever running on empty, and without ever looking for some kind of return, some kind of, I often hear people say, I didn't expect anything, but they could have at least said thank you. Did you hear what I just said? Because that's an expectation. That's looking for something to be filled with. So it's a form of validation that if I'm giving out of love, then yes, if someone says thank you, that's a bonus. But if I'm giving out of love, I'm giving out of love, and there shouldn't be any expectation. If people don't appreciate it, it shouldn't make any difference to me. Okay? Yes, relationships need to be reciprocal. But let me not look for that reciprocity. Is that the right word? Let me not look for that, because I'm always going to be, others are always going to hold my reins. And so if I'm not in control of my own heart, of my own emotions, of my own thoughts, of my own belief systems, of my own actions, of my own words, then someone else is going to control that for me. And then they're going to blame me. And then they're going to shame me. And then they're going to criticize me. And then I'm going to internalize and do it all over to myself again. And we need to stop, because part of our healing is to stop that self-sabotage, that's to stop that self-destructive inner dialogue, to stop that self-destructive inner criticism, those inner scripts that just keep us feeling bad about ourselves, and so that keeps us attracting those who are going to keep making us feel bad about ourselves. And they're going to keep reminding us it's our own fault. And in a sense it is. And this isn't about blaming or shaming anyone, but recognizing where I contribute, where I participate. As soon as I react, I'm giving my power to this person or situation in front of me. So I am participating, I'm engaging. Okay, part of learning to love myself and take care of myself is to not engage. And that takes practice, especially when we've been running on emotion and we've been, if others are good at poking our old wounds, they know our old triggers, they know our old patterns, they're going to keep coming for us. But if I stay firm, and when I'm full and content, what I imagine is when there's something that's empty, it's easy, it rattles, it shakes, but when it's full, like those Russian dolls that wobble around and you can push them around, but they don't fall over because there's a rounded bottom and they're really filled, they're really heavy. So they just keep moving. And that's what we need to be. We need to learn to fill ourselves so that no matter how much someone else pokes me, I'm going to stay stable. Okay? And that is part of learning to love myself. And that's part of learning to be kind to myself, that it is okay to say no, that it is okay to set boundaries, that it is okay to work on me and feel me and love me and care for me. Okay? In the society where women, mothers in particular, have been brainwashed to believe that others come first. And so we will always, it doesn't matter if we've spent 10 hours cooking in the kitchen, we'll make sure everyone else is fed and we will take the leftovers. We have to learn to serve ourselves first. Because and we all know this, on an aeroplane, you are always told part of the emergency procedures is to make sure you put your own oxygen mask on, your own life jacket on. We cannot save anyone if we're drowning or suffocating. And be gentle with yourself, because it does take practice. If you're not used to it, there's going to be a lot of guilt, okay, and others will poke that guilt button in you. Okay, if you don't do this, then I can't do blah, blah. And so instantly there's going to trigger that guilt. Well, I don't want them to not be able to do whatever. So I compromise myself. So when I learn to listen to the language that others are telling me, and learn to listen to their body language, because behavior is a language. Okay? There's so many amazing quotes out there. One of them that comes to mind at the moment is, when others show you who they are, believe them. That took me a long time. Even though I got it intellectually, in my heart, I kept believing their words, and then I would be devastated when they did the opposite. And so part of that self-love and self-care is to not become the same as them, but to remain in my authentic space. And that means sometimes I need to stand alone, and that's okay. Because when I learn to stand alone, it doesn't mean that I'm lonely. When I learn to stand alone, I'm never alone. Okay, because I have the best support in the entire universe at my back. The only one who will never deceive me or lie to me or push me beyond my capacity. So give yourself that self-love and remind yourself that you are love. You don't need to do it or have it. You don't need to look for it. You don't need others to validate it, because you are it. Okay? You are that light. You are that kindness, you are that energy, you are that compassion, you are that mercy, you are that kindness, you are that gentleness, you are that peace, you are that power. So I hope that made a little bit of sense for you today. I hope that gave you a little bit of comfort or guidance, and I will leave it at that. So you have a wonderful day, and it gives you something hopefully to churn on and think about to help you navigate wherever you are in your story. But this is very much about, this whole channel is very much about learning to love myself, not at the detriment of anyone else, but to give to me first as a means to be able to serve the world. So I hope you got some benefit, and I will see you next time. Love you. Bye.